Welcome to Through the Hurricane. I'm Kathleen Kane, the first woman elected Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Have you ever looked down and seen the pieces of your life on the floor and wondered what happened? You haven't just been through a storm, you've been through a hurricane. Sometimes we think that we'll never have joy, we'll never have love again, we'll never have a normal life again. But Through the Hurricane will teach you that the power of love and resistance and the human mind can do anything. We all experience a hurricane, but the human spirit is indestructible. This is Through the Hurricane. Let's walk through the storm together. Welcome to Through the Hurricane. I'm Kathleen Kane. If you've been listening to our last few episodes, you'll notice that our stories weren't a happy ending. Sometimes things just don't work out. People die, careers are lost, loves are lost, but sometimes they do work out. Today we're sitting down with someone whose story proves that life's detours can become our greatest turning points. What looked like setbacks were actually shaping something bigger, an unconventional road that led him right where he was meant to be. Some people follow the map, others end up drawing their own. This is the kind of success story you cannot script. You have to live it. Today we're joined by our guest, Bill Bender. Welcome, Bill.
I'm great. Happy to be here, Kathleen. Thank you.
We're happy to have you here. We're happy to have a story where we can tell our viewers right off, you don't need the tissues.
Well, there may have been a few tissues along the way, so
well, let's hear about them.
There may not be tissues today.
So I understand that you have what you believe are the three phases of life.
That's one of my philosophies as I've gotten older. I tell a lot of younger people that as I look back, I think there's three phases of life. The first 30 years that I can consider your learning years. You learn to walk, you learn to talk, you go to school, whatever it is, you try your first jobs. The second phase of life, 30 to 60, I think of as your growth years. A lot happens in those years. You get married, you have kids, you get your first house, you get a lot of things. Hopefully your career exceeds your expectation. And then you get to the phase that I'm currently in.
Well am I.
And that would be that third phase, which is 60 to 90 or more. And that's where you reflect on your life, and you have a way of looking back. We all know what happens in that third phase.
Yes.
And that's where some of the sadness, but we're all going to leave this earth someday. So
that's right.
I try to realize and share some of the stories of what got me to where we are today.
So I met you a couple of years ago, and I didn't hear your story until just recently. And when I heard your story, it was so fascinating to me, and it was such a real, raw story that so many people, I think, can relate to in no matter what phase of life you're in. You know, I have children and nieces and nephews who are in their 20s and 30s, and I tell them the same thing. This is where you're learning. You're not supposed to be comfortable. Things are supposed to be bad. You know, this is where you're going. But then I'm always like, your 30s and 40s, wow, they are fantastic.
They are.
They are. Things go down a little downhill perhaps after that. But tell us how you started out, because my father would say, is that relevant to the story? And my answer for you is yes, I think it is.
I think it's relative to everybody's story. You're molded as you grow up. Your parents are the biggest influence in your life. My first 30 years as we get older seems like a blur, but I didn't grow up in a wealthy family. I had three siblings, none of which went to college. I was the youngest of four. Mom and dad both worked, trying to get by. We had a roof over our head, we had food on the table, but my father was a World War II vet, and he went to work and came home and put the paycheck there. So we went to public schools. I met some great friends that are still friends to this day. And I think in the journeys that we're building together, people that are important in your life stay in your life. And you never know what's going to happen that next day of your life. So life's like a puzzle. You never know where the pieces are going to fit, right?
Or a box of chocolates.
You never know
what you're going to get, right?
And it's so true when you look back, because I had a lot of great things happen and a lot of, I won't call them hurricanes, but maybe a few cyclones and tornadoes.
And at the time, how did they probably felt like they were the biggest things and terrible at that point?
There's no doubt. And Yeah, I wish people knew where their journey would take them.
Yeah.
But we do have to put in the time, enjoy the journey, good, bad, or indifferent. And I'll share with you a couple of the things happen in each phase of
Yeah,
that.
sure. Tell us, when did you start working?
When I was 14, 15 years old, I really didn't get much of an allowance. And if I wanted to have money in my pocket, my first lesson I got from my dad was work ethic. I remember in high school, I was a senior. My wife was my girlfriend. We're high school sweethearts. But if I wanted gas for the car or take her out on a date, I worked 3 jobs. I washed dishes on 2 nights a week. I stocked shelves at Matthew's paint store. And then on Saturdays, I worked at the YMCA. And I enjoyed every bit of it because it was putting money in my pocket. And I think that work ethic was always something that stayed with me to this day.
Now, after graduation, what did you do after graduating?
So, I applied to 2 schools. I was good at math and science, not so good at English and history. And I ended up going to the University of Pittsburgh, where I was studying chemistry. I was the first in my family to go to college. My parents were very proud. And I thought I wanted to be a dentist, which is a story we laugh about today. As I happened to be there when we won the national championship and went undefeated, so I was a little distracted with football, I think. But I had good grades, but not good enough to go to dental school. And my wife was back here in Scranton going to the Mercy School of Nursing. So I transferred back to the University of Scranton. And I changed my goal, if you will, to chemical business. Business was where I was meant to be. And I knew that. And so that kind of, I was a junior, and my wife and I found out that we're having a baby. And we got married, and I tried to go to school, and I'll never forget taking a test in organic chemistry. That didn't go well, and in that moment I knew I had to change. And that was maybe one of my first hurricanes, I dropped out of college at a young age. My parents were not happy, and I said, I'm gonna go back nights. Well, guess what? 13 months later, we had our second child, and 2 years later, I had my third child. So we were 24 years old with 3 children. And Maureen worked 3 to 11 as a nurse, and I worked during the days. And I always look back on those times of taking care of the kids. I did baths, I put them to bed, but we loved our life.
Yeah.
It was simple then.
What were you working as after you dropped out of college? What was your career then?
So my careers were a number of sales jobs from age 20 to 27. I sold phone systems, I sold energy products. I actually sold insurance door to door. That was a great experience.
Tough. Yeah.
I put a lot of miles on and met a lot of people. And the people we meet on this journey of life helps mold us.
Yeah.
I say life is like, you look back, you can't remember every second of every day, but you can absolutely remember moments. Moments are exactly that, the days and minutes we remember.
They say life is made up of moments.
And those moments are all impactful. And I still remember a lot of moments from those tough days of trying to make a buck. I'm a big fan of goal setting.
Yes.
From an early, it was really, my first goal was to make more money than my wife, because she was a nurse. And I didn't feel that she should be, supporting
Was your
me.
pride a little hurt?
No, well, my goals, I was driven. No, I never got negative. We did what we had. We had a great, kids still think those were some of the best years of our life.
Yeah, I bet.
But I probably had about 6, 7 jobs. Not all of them worked out,
All different sales jobs?
except for one that you know about. But
Okay, yes.
I'll share that again if you like.
Sure.
I actually did some inside sales. I was assistant manager in a shirt store here at the Viewmont Mall. And I got an opportunity to go work at RCA, which was a big employer back then. And I thought this was awesome for our family, benefits, regular paycheck, more money than I was making. And I quit my job and took this job at RCA.
And you felt good about it, right?
I thought I could support the family, And I remember I went there and I was a little talkative. I was a little bit chatty, more than the other people. Asked questions on the benefits and raised my hand for everything. And on the second or third day there, the manager called me in and said he had to let me go.
Oh, boy.
That job wasn't for me.
Oh, boy.
And he was doing me a favor, he said. I don't know his name, but he's one of those people.
Did it feel like a favor?
Not at the time. In fact, I went out to the car. I didn't know how to go home and say that happened. But it molded me, and it actually changed the course of the direction of my future. And to this day, I'd love to go back and thank that gentleman for that.
Yes, right.
Because what followed was very good.
So you lose your job, you go home, you tell your wife you lost your job.
Yeah.
Something you were counting on, kind of like, okay, this is it, this is going to be good. Were you depressed after that? Were you let down? How did you feel? Were you disappointed? Were you
With 3
scared?
kids, I never really had time to be depressed.
Well,
They
that's
always
true.
kept, but
Yeah.
I almost joined the Navy. That's how
really?
close, like, you try to do what you can to provide for your family, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. But like, I almost joined the Navy because I was good at math and they wanted to put me into the nuclear program. I never once thought of the fact that I don't know how to swim. and that I look back and say, I probably would have drowned if I went that way. But fortunately, in the last minute, my uncle took me on a submarine and I said, this isn't for me, and we moved on. But I always had faith in myself, and I think people need to realize that we control how we feel, we control how we think, and
How we react.
We control how we react to that. So I did take it as a positive, and I always say you have one day to sulk.
Yes.
You have one day to, let it go.
You're tougher in your family. We give people 3 days. You could eat ice cream, sleep, cry, scream, whatever you want, but then that's it.
Yeah. Well, I personally probably never said that out loud, but for me, it's a one-day thing, and life's going to be what it's going to be after that. And I always had confidence in myself at a young age. Maureen, thank God, had confidence in me as well. We were always in it together, and I started to apply for jobs, and I wanted a job. I was working selling phone systems at the time when I was 27. We wanted to buy a house, which we did for the first time. We went from apartment living, and I was doing okay as a sales manager in sales, but I really wanted to get a career. But like most of us, I didn't know what that career was. I didn't know what it was I wanted to do. But I wanted to be working with people. I love working with people. And I answered a blind ad.
Before that, how you told me that you sent out, I think it was either 28 or 38 job applications that you would just scour the
I
newspaper.
put time into doing that resume. I would look in the newspaper. I talked to an agency at one point, but I would just see jobs that looked good. And I remember, we were back in the early 80s, okay? I don't want to age myself, but it was a different time. But I remember interviewing with Honeywell, Snap-on Tools, some big companies. I thought, boy, I remember one job had a company car going up on roofs and selling roofing products, but none of them were really resonating with me. And I turned them down. I didn't take any of them. I continued doing what I was doing.
And then there was one ad that stuck out to you.
Yeah, and this is where destiny, people have to get lucky in life. I believe the harder you work, the luckier you get. It's a fact. I can't tell you how many times that holds true for people I know. And I just was doing what I was doing, but I saw this one ad in the paper where I remember sending my resume to Rochester, New York, and it just said sports-minded individual, good income potential. It didn't even say what the job was. And then a couple weeks later, I got a phone call, and it happened to be with Merrill Lynch, an investment firm. And I'll never forget, the phone call. It was like, how did you get my name? So he said, I want to interview you. And I knew nothing about investments at the time.
So he said he was the ad that said if you're sports-minded, that you just happened to answer.
That's who it was.
That's amazing.
So his boss was in Rochester. He picked out my resume and sent it down to Wilkes-Barre at the time. And, if there's a pivotal moment or the why in the road or what have you, what happened is really the best part of the story. He put me through the interview process. In the first interview, I ended up interviewing him. I think I mentioned that. He looked at his watch, and I asked so many questions. How do you get your clients? How do you do that? And he looked and he said, can you come back on Thursday so I can interview you? And I went home and I said, I blew it. I don't know what I did. So he called me back, and he actually made me the job offer. I was so excited about this job. It was going to pay me half of what I was currently making. And I went home and Maureen said, well, you can't take that. That's How are we going to pay the mortgage? And sometimes we're faced with opportunity. You know, I often say one step back, two steps forward, but I called him and said, I can't take the job.
Mm-hmm.
I have 3 kids and a mortgage.
And Maureen said, absolutely
And
not.
she said, you can't. And I tried to explain, I think this is it. This is the opportunity. And so he called me back and he offered me a few $1,000s more in the training program. And I said, I'll take it. Because
How did Maureen feel about that?
she said, you just try it. I believe in you. Yeah, and I worked and I tried to become the best I could be. And that was, 40 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that journey was in that learning phase for me. And I got my license and I became a financial advisor, in that whole end of my learning phase of life. And it really, that's a long time to talk about the first phase, but I will say, that the next part I've learned the most and grew and became, I think, the person I was meant to be.
So finishing out the first phase. The first phase is where you have all of your jobs, you lose them, you gain them, maybe not so great, others work out, some don't. Now you're at Merrill Lynch and you're a financial advisor.
Yes.
Did you like what you were doing?
Loved
what you were doing?
For the first time, I found a passion that
Yeah.
and we all look for it.
Right.
And I say to a lot of younger people, if you don't love your job, find something you do because you'll excel at something you love.
And it's a long life if you don't love your job.
Yeah, I would imagine.
We have no choice but to work.
I would imagine.
Right. So are you moving up the ladder at Merrill?
I am. I mean,
How
pretty
are you
quickly.
doing that? How are you doing that?
By continuing to meet people, hear their stories, help them.
Mm-hmm.
I love helping people. And you grow your business by how many people you have. And I would work endlessly to, Saturdays, evenings. So the more, it's a numbers game, the more people you meet, the more money you manage, the more successful you are. So I worked to improve, I got my CFP and designations that I thought would help me be more knowledgeable. SEMA designation, another designation to fill that void of education that I needed. And, I will say there's humbling times, hurricanes within our industry. I don't have to put the investors out there, but, the crash of '87, when the day after my birthday, the market dropped 20% in a day. I lived through the internet bubble of 90, 91, 92. 99, 2000, 2001, when 9/11 occurred. That was a horrible period. And 5 years later, the financial crisis. I mean, my industry is filled with crises.
Yes, right.
So I've learned what it's like to help other people go through that, or how to prevent a crisis. And it's actually helped me along the way to have the attitude that I carry every day.
Yeah.
Into the office, into my clients' meetings, and just try to help people understand there's risks in the world. We have to manage it appropriately.
Yes.
And that, go ahead.
Well, you're a goal setter. So
That's what I was gonna say.
at a certain point, you left Merrill.
I did.
When did that happen?
I did. Back in 2019, we made a move to another firm. And, it was for different reasons. We have a large team. We have a family team for my 5 children. I did have 2 more children in that story. But I have 5 children, and 4 of them are now my partners, work with me. And, we just had a different vision for our company. So, it's not even the companies you work for in our industry, it's the people you help along the way. We just need the resources to be able to deliver that.
So you leave Merrill, you start your own company with your sons and daughter,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
And you are under the umbrella of a certain bank at that point, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I always have an investment firm behind us.
Okay, yeah.
We do financial planning. We set goals for clients, and I think that's the other part that I've learned in this growth phase of my life. Goal settings are really important. If you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. I focus a lot on helping people understand. You wake up in the morning, you tell yourself a few things you're grateful for, but how did I learn all this? I didn't know any of that. I learned from other people.
Yeah.
I learned from my peers. I learned from books. I learned from seminars, because every day I wake up, I want to get better.
So you do believe in self-help.
Way believe in it.
But it's funny because
I wouldn't be where I am without
I think people our age, I don't think they do believe in it. I think it's just coming into new role. I think that years ago it would have been seen as, if I was in my 20s, if one of my friends ever said, oh, are you going to see your counselor today? We'd all be like, are you kidding me? But it's a common thing for children, not children, but people in their 20s and their 30s. And you kind of set off on your journey to do that on your own, to grow within yourself as well as growing within your profession.
I'll give you 2 examples.
Yes.
I had a manager who came to me and asked me what my goals were. And I was so proud, my chest was out, and I told him what my goals were. And they were very small. and he looked at me and he said, Bill, like there's much bigger out there. And he told me to get this book, which I've told hundreds of people to read, but I can't say it. It's just what happened to me. It's my story. But I got this book, The Magic of Thinking Big. It's about this thick. Mm-hmm. And I read it. The difference is 1 million people have read that book. It's been around since 1959. It's a bestseller. But I felt like it was written for me. Mm-hmm. All I changed was how I think. And it really helped me at a time I needed that, propel myself into just thinking bigger about myself, what I wanted to do in life. And then I met another person who was a top 10 advisor, and I sat next to him at dinner, and how did you get where you are, and what did you do? He owns all these yogurt shops. He's running a business 50 times bigger than mine. Oh, he went to Tony Robbins, and he walked barefoot across the hot coals. So what do I know? I got to go home and read Tony Robbins, and I got to listen to his tapes. And yes, my wife and I walked barefoot over the hot coals.
Oh, wow.
So if I heard somebody who is more successful than me give me advice to do something, I didn't say I don't need that. I didn't say I'm too good for that. I did it. And it really was people like that who took an interest in me that changed the trajectory. And I believe in paying it forward. I've told you that.
Yes.
That's what I think today is.
That's why you're here today.
I'm here to pay it forward because I've been blessed, I've been challenged,
yes.
But I've overcome challenges by keeping that positive attitude. That's the one thing we control, my attitude. What do I think about it? Is the glass half full or half empty? Anybody who knows me knows, there's just, it's really hard not to be positive looking back on life. I heard your other podcast and last podcast with Linda Barace, and we are passing through. Yeah. And we're all going to end up in the same place. Mm-hmm. So what impact do you want to have? I ask myself in the morning, how do I want to be remembered? Someone asks, it's your turn. Live it today like you want to be remembered.
Right. You're Irish.
I am.
We're Irish. We live our lives as if we are writing our obituary and then we're working our way back. What do we want it to say? I always say mine is going to be one hell of a good story. Yeah. And I want it all in there, by the way, because every little piece of it, good or bad, shapes who you are and how you handled it. And I found the same thing what you're saying. I think the one thing I really struck me with people about what my story was is they were never saying, oh, come on, what happened? Or tell me this little legal thing. Nobody cared. They wanted to know how you got through it. And they always just remembered how you handled it. Yeah. And I think that's because they need that.
I'll story I know you and I talked about that you loved. But, goal setting, mm-hmm. Don't forget goal setting. And sometimes we have goals that take us a long time. I now have 16 grandchildren, and I think about what do I want them to know? What's important in life? Education's important. Mm-hmm. Although I didn't get my college degree, I made certain my kids got the best education. They all got their college degrees, and I actually served on Keystone College's board mm-hmm. for 11 years.
So here's my favorite story.
Yeah.
Here's my favorite story of this whole podcast. Now, we've been listening to how you came from humble beginnings. Your work ethic is very important. Goals are very important. You had to drop out of college because, joyfully you had your first child. You worked all these different jobs, trying to find your purpose in life, trying to find your passion in life. Did you find it?
Geez, maybe I should be crying.
You're going, maybe now it's time to get the tissues out. But you're going, you're living through your life. You're living through your 30s. You're living through your 40s, right?
Yes.
But a certain thing keeps coming up, I think, for you that you wanted to rectify.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Tell us what happened, because at this point, have you graduated college?
No. Life gets in the way.
It's a great story.
Life gets in the way, right? And I often thought of writing a book, I have it named Unfinished Business. But, success comes at a price. You have to be with your family, you got to travel, you got to be there for your clients, and there's no time for me. And Maureen would say there's time for me because I like golfing and spending time with my friends. But I'm
Maureen
talking,
will be our next guest.
She would be great. But I did serve on Keystone's college board, and I learned about what's on the other side. Building a college, building an education, the challenges it faces. I'm happy to say how well they're on the road to recovery now, but colleges have bumps in the road. And I was on the board, and I'll never forget Ned Beam coming to me after 9 years on the board, and he asked me to be the chairman of his board. And although I hid behind the fact that I didn't have my college degree, I was embarrassed. I always said I attended college, but I told Ned, I feel I have to tell you, I don't have my degree. You want me to lead your college and be your chairman, but I don't even have a college degree.
How hard was that?
It was very hard. Oh my God. It was devastating for me, but it was the right thing to do.
Sure.
And I always say, no matter how tough things are, my wife lives by that motto, always do the right thing. And I told Ned, I said, Ned, I don't know that I'm the right person for you. And he looked at me without batting an eye, which I loved. And he said, that's not why I'm asking you to be our chair. And he said, one thing that changed that, he said, but Bill, it's never too late. I have to tell you, I was about 50 years old at the time. And I said, well, I went home and I thought about it. Nothing else was said. And then I said to my wife, maybe I should look into this, And I requested my transcripts from college. I didn't even know how many credits I had. And then I followed up, and I went to Keystone and sat down and said, what do I need here? And they helped me chart a path and I never told anybody I was doing it.
That's fantastic.
So I did start to go back to school.
How old were you when you graduated?
I was 53 years old. Ned Beam sent me a letter and asked me if I'd give the commencement speech at his last commencement.
Yes, which happened to be?
2013. And I did that. I had a lot to do, but I did it for him. He was a gentleman, and I ended up giving the commencement speech at my own graduation.
That's amazing.
In 2013. And my grandchildren, everybody realized that it's never too late to achieve a goal. And today, I still say that's true. There's things I still hope to do in my life, and one of them is this.
Yes.
Helping others.
So that would be, so now I feel like we're in the third stage, the reflective stage. You went through your 30s and 40s and almost 50s, early 50s. You went back and did those things that really meant something to you that you never got a chance to do, graduating college. By the way, was your mother at your college graduation?
My mother passed away at 91 years old, but she was in her wheelchair in the front row crying her eyes out. And I'll never forget it, that she got to be there.
Now I'm moving crying.
Yeah, well, a lot of people were crying, including me.
Yeah.
I cried during that because my dad didn't, and my brother.
Wow.
Sorry, still happens.
Yeah. You know what, it's actually, it's joyful because you got to remember your mom, and I could just, as a mom, imagine how she felt sitting there.
Yeah.
Not just because you were graduating.
You don't have to bring
I know, but you know what? We're the center.
But they still motivate me. They're with me every day.
Yeah.
And that's this phase we're in now is the give back phase. And I think it's important for us to reflect and know this journey can be anything you're facing. Death, yeah, my brother died young. I just lost a nephew who died young, a cousin who died young. These young deaths are tragic. I had a nephew die, on St. Patrick's Day at birth, and tragedies are part of life that I've learned in this third phase.
Right.
You can overcome them with the belief that they're with us, that we're all going to be together, right? And what do I want to do to make a difference today? What do I want to do to help people today? What can all of us do to help people today? There's a movie called Pay It Forward. It's a great movie. Never forgot it. It's a moment. But you know, help other people. Help other people get over whatever they're facing, whatever challenges. They need it. You know, I've needed it in times. It'd be a whole other session to say how many people helped me in my life. So I try to pay back in this phase of life. Try to make a difference with the knowledge I have and the experience. You know, I don't feel that mine's my story. There's so many others out there that are great.
But
yours was fascinating to me, and
Well,
watch. Yours took 4 episodes, so I mean it was great.
Yeah.
And I think what you're doing here is great.
Thank you. But I think what you're doing is as well. And I love that you have set it into the 4 stages, because that is so true. And I think when younger people look back, when they get to be in the 3rd stage, they'll see life as something as not microscopic as we maybe did in our 20s or maybe in our 30s when things were much better. We had some money, we had some family, we were a little more stable. We kind of knew where we were going a little bit more in our 30s.
That's right.
And then sometimes things, you know, death starts and the tragedy starts. And then I feel like that sometimes some people let that be all they see.
Yeah, it is. And work.
And
you
it
lose your
could be.
job.
You lose your job, you lose your career, and you have to start all over again at an age where it's tough. You know, it's tough and you didn't expect it. But I think when you get to that 3rd phase and you see life as the bigger picture, and you are sitting here telling our listeners and our viewers that you've gone through these things, that life is something that it's a big ball. And there are phases, and what you're going through is perfectly normal. It's not a terrible thing. You're going to get out of it. What would you say to them now? How is life now in phase 3? Because I was always like, is life still going to be good when we get older?
Yeah, boy, that's a great question. I deal with a lot of people in near retirement or in retirement. I think try not to be stressed, but health becomes number 1. You know, I found out 2.5 years ago, I had the widowmaker. I caught it because I'm diligent.
Right.
I was able to get the stents, and that was another hurricane for me and my family. And oh my God, you know, Dad could be sick. That was an eye opener.
Yeah.
So it gave me that perspective again at this phase, like, wow, we really could get sick in a minute. So I think this phase is about staying healthy and then also enjoying the time you currently have. My wife and I travel more. We want to be with friends more. We want to continue to have the impact. I can't just retire, you know, I can't. I love it as much, if not more today as when I was 30. The day I don't like it, I will be retired.
Yes,
or God has a plan, health, I say. But and my clients know that. We will continue to do what we do. I'm not the only person that works there, and they all know that. But I share my stories with my clients. They know me.
Yes.
They know we're here to help.
Well, I think your business is very personal. I mean,
very much
you know,
so.
you have people's livelihoods in your hands, and you don't just have their money that you're running numbers. You have their dreams. You have their hopes for the future.
And that's what this phase is. You know, you look at Warren Buffett, at least I do, and at his age, and still giving advice to people who, he's been in this phase a long time. So I think I'm much better at what I do right now than I've ever been because of the stories and experience. You know, it helps me help more people each day.
Yeah. How important do you think mentoring is? Do you think people listen?
I have a few friends of mine that I have mentored who would answer that better because, yes, they stay in touch. I've helped them. Some of them have grown businesses larger than mine. And I love being a mentor, but I've also been mentored by some great people. And I think if you don't have a mentor, ask someone that you respect, who you look up to, if they would be your mentor. I'm so proud of my family. My children who work with me, they didn't get a choice to ask me to mentor them.
Yes.
They had other careers they could have gotten, and they did start in other jobs, but they wanted to do what I do, and they did want to work in the business with their dad.
Well, you led by example.
Yeah, I hope so.
Well, I appreciate you being here. Maybe someday you'll write that book and we'll have you back.
I have to wait till the story's over, though, to write it, because I'm still...
I don't know. Is the story ever over? I don't think so.
I don't know. I have some of it in my mind for sure, but the key of we just basically said the book here.
Yes.
It's just more of the motivations along the way, and don't be afraid to seek help. Self-help, if you don't want to ask somebody, there's more books, and just Google self-help books. You'll be amazed. There's probably more there than, but don't be afraid to pick one up and read it. Every single book or tape I ever listened to, if I got one thing out of it, but I listened to it.
Right.
I didn't just read it.
Yeah.
You can't just read it.
Right.
You have to apply.
Yeah. It's not a beach read.
No, it isn't. But I think that, a mentor is a great idea. How do I get better? How can I be better? First step, goal setting. Mm-hmm. You have to have a realistic goal. It should be written, it should be shared, and it needs to be measured. And if you have those 4 things, start off with baby steps. My wife and I used to set a goal every year. We'd sit down on New Year's Day and we'd write down what we wanted to do for the year. I mean, goals come in different sizes, but if you're facing a crisis or you want more out of life, start there.
Exactly. I think one step forward, you take that one step, the rest just keeps going. You just keep going.
Yeah, you don't know where it's going.
But it's okay.
Enjoy the
okay.
ride. Enjoy the ride.
It's a wild ride.
Yeah,
I always like to say strap in, but
it could be.
Well, we hope so.
Yeah.
But again, I appreciate your time here. I appreciate your knowledge and your wisdom, and you have also helped my family tremendous amount. And so I've seen what you can do, and I've seen the power of mentoring, and I appreciate that you want to pass that on to everyone else. So thank you very much.
I look forward to so many more of these, because I'm humbled to be your second guest.
Well,
is that right? Third?
Yes,
okay.
third, yes.
But just even to be asked to do this, I hope you continue to bring and keep doing this for a long time.
Thank you.
Because I know it's your passion.
It actually is my passion. It's my purpose.
That's right.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for joining us for another episode of Through the Hurricane. See you next time. Thanks for listening to Through the Hurricane. Please like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time.